And a big part of it, the Commanders and Terry McLaurin work things out.
Amazing how that happens in late August, less than 2 weeks away from the Commanders' regular season opener. All we heard was how far apart the two sides were. And then lo and behold, 13 days from the opener, the two sides agree on a 3-year contract. It really was quite a similar contract to the one on the table. Some adjustments were made, and Terry McLaurin winds up in Washington. The Commanders get the player that they need, and how one signing can help uplift the mood of an entire organization as it gets ready to play the New York Giants.
Because you had been saying that despite the fact that the world views the Commanders as this team on the come-up, that there had been some vibes there that were a little questionable, and now, boom, just like that, maybe it all turns around.
I think the team was a little bit off this summer. You had the Terry McLaurin situation hanging out over the entire organization, and now McLaurin signs. The wide receiver room gets boosted. Everybody feels better. The team that didn't look quite as sharp now all of a sudden has great hopes as it gets ready for the Giants.
They play the Giants in what'd you say, 12 days, a week from Sunday. D. Wood, what is the ceiling for this Commanders team?
Super Bowl. Super Bowl is on the table for the Washington Commanders, and primarily because of their quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a superstar in this league. We saw what he did in his rookie year. It was an unprecedented rookie year by rookie quarterback. And so when you have him as a centerpiece, they've upgraded the offensive line. Obviously, trade for Laramie Tunsil being one of the pieces. You trade for Deebo Samuel, another piece added to that offensive side. And now you're talking about better protection, better run game, more explosiveness on the perimeter. And it all adds up to the Washington Commanders being one of these teams that we're going to talk about in the NFC representing that conference.
Remember, they got hot late to get into the playoffs, then made a run all the way to the NFC Championship game. So, sometimes these things aren't linear. Do you expect them to be better?
Absolutely. I think the McLaurin situation puts a ribbon on a great offseason. As the graphic was showing, they addressed their weakness, which was Jaden Daniels was sacked 47 times. So you add Laramie Tunsil, you draft Josh Connerly in the first round. Now you bring Terry McLaurin in. And Green, they were 5th last year in offensive efficiency. Now Jaden Daniels has an offseason with Cliff Kingsbury, their offensive coordinator. This is a 2-team race in the NFC East. It's them, it's the Eagles, and then draw a massive line.
Do you see it that way, Schefter? Is it a 2-team race in the NFC East?
I don't see it that way. I know that we look at it today as the Eagles and the Commanders, but this is the NFL. And in every single year, there are surprise teams. Now, I don't know whether the Giants or Cowboys are capable of rising up, but I do know that there hasn't been a repeat winner of the NFC East in over 20 years. And so this division has been highly unpredictable, unstable, and all these teams we look at today, it all seems so logical, and then the season starts, and then injuries happen, and then momentum swings, and things change. So I would never say that a division is shaping up to be 2 teams when the Giants and Cowboys, I think, are sneaky good.
All right, fair enough. We'll come back to that part of it a little later. Let's get to one that I really didn't think was going to get done, or at least I was worried wasn't going to get done, and that's Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati.
And there's a theme there again, Greeny. We heard all summer how far apart these teams were, these sides were, and in the end, they reach a compromise that allows Trey Hendrickson to get a $14 million raise this season, which you don't ever hear about a player getting. He becomes an unrestricted free agent after this year. He can test the free agent market if the Bengals don't tag him, or even if they do. And the Bengals don't have to give him one of these $100 million guarantees on a multi-year deal because they're able to give him a $14 million raise for 1 year of work.
Tannenbaum had a good day yesterday. I will pat you on the back so you don't have to do it. He said they should trade Kenny Pickett to the Raiders. They did that. We'll get to that a little bit later. You said they got to find ways for both sides to feel like they won a little bit on these hold-ins, if you will. And they did that in the case of Washington, and they got it done in Cincinnati.
That's right. So for Cincinnati, you have your key player back, you give him a raise, but you're basically $11.5 million below where TJ Watt is. So that's really good for Cincinnati. It's not ideal because you don't have him after this year. And Greeny, from Trey Hendrickson's standpoint, you just got a $16 million raise, and you didn't have to give up, a subsequent season. Adam and I were talking about it this morning. Roughly, it's about $34.5 million next year if they were to franchise Trey Hendrickson, which is more than what it would be otherwise. So to me, it's a win-win, and now you have a key player back.
So this team was in contention to the final Sunday of the season because the offense was so good, but the defense was so bad, even with Hendrickson. And this preseason, for whatever that's worth, worth, they've looked even worse. What is the ceiling in Cincinnati this year?
Well, I mean, listen, because of their offense, they're capable of doing anything, but we have no idea what the Cincinnati Bengals defense is going to be. I will say this, without Trey Hendrickson in the fold, we know that there would be a much worse off defense for the Cincinnati Bengals. So getting your best playmaker on the defensive side, a guy that can, get after the quarterback, pressure the quarterback is always a good thing. They need those young guys. Al Golden, defense coordinator, need to get those young guys on the defensive side to live up to their draft status.
Greeny, the legendary Bill Walsh talked about passing to score early and then fourth quarter pass rushers. To D. Wood's point, yesterday they couldn't do that. Today they can. They got Shamar Stewart, their first-round pick, and now the player that's led the NFL in sacks over the last 2 years.
Okay, and so that means 2 of the 3 big hold-ins have been settled. The Micah Parsons one, we're still waiting for anything. He continues to hold in there. I want you to hear from Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. He was asked yesterday about Parsons' absence with the Eagles game looming. Remember, they play next Thursday.
I've got confidence. I've told y'all that way back when. And I'm just going off of experience, honestly. No different than mine, so I've got confidence in that. Just hoping, which I know he is, he's ready to play.
Has this whole thing been a distraction for the team as you prepare?
I wouldn't say so. As I alluded to it before, I mean, there's been a case of something similar to this the last 3 years, I believe. So people can take it however they want. I think it's kind of part of the way guys think and see things around here.
Has confidence that Micah Parsons will be on the field for the Eagles game. You just heard Dak say he feels the same way and that he compares the situation to his own experience. Schefter, you've been telling me all along this feels different than it did with Dak.
Okay, let me say this. I want to give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is that we heard a lot of strong language surrounding Trey Hendrickson and Terry McLaurin about how far apart the sides were, how nobody was willing to budge, how this could go on. And then lo and behold, less than 2 weeks before the opener, both players remarkably get deals done. That brings us to Micah Parsons. Here's a player who, again, sounds like he doesn't want to be in Dallas. He's issued the public trade request. The Dallas Cowboys have had 0 negotiations with him since they felt like they had an agreement with him that he didn't follow through on. All we've heard is how bad it is, and I think it is bad. I've even heard that this situation is considered to be Jerry Jones' Waterloo. He doesn't want to lose it. But I would say this, we've seen these other sides come through and get deals done. This one, again, feels a little bit different. Now, it looked like McLaurin and Hendrickson were hopeless, and lo and behold, they get deals done. And the Dallas Cowboys open their season a week from Thursday night. And Micah Parsons still has a tight back, and he still hasn't practiced. And we still don't know whether he's going to play. And this is Jerry Jones' Waterloo. So there are a lot of elements at play that go against a deal, that tell you it's not good, that tell you in time it doesn't look like Micah may be resigning there. But the hope is, if Trey Hendrickson could get a deal done in Cincinnati, if Terry McLaurin could get a deal done in Washington, then there has to be a way for the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons to bridge their differences somehow, as vast as they are, and get a deal done.
The Battle of Waterloo ended the Napoleonic Wars once upon a time. It was the end of Napoleon. Will they be the end of Jerry Jones or Micah Parsons or one? You said to me yesterday, find a way to make both sides happy. In this case, I'm not sure it works because Jerry thinks they had a deal and he feels wronged. And if I'm Micah Parsons, I'm not taking 1 cent less than T.J. Watt got.
2 years, $84 million. Both sides win, both sides lose. $42 million a year, Greeny, highest paid non-quarterback in the league. 2-year deal, so Jerry Jones doesn't have these massive guarantees, and now Micah Parsons gets back out to the market as soon as 2 years. So to me, not ideal for either side, but it puts a Band-Aid on it. One other thing, Greeny, the expression, it's getting late early. If the 4 of us were in Kevin Patullo's office right now, the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, I promise you on his whiteboard is test the conditioning of number 11, meaning if Micah Parsons does play, I promise you they will go no huddle and see what kind of shape he's in.
Well, before we even get to that, D-Wood, let me ask you the question this way. We are 9 days away from the opener. He has a tight back for whatever that's worth, but he hasn't been in pads. He has not gone through an actual football practice this entire training camp. Can he physically play an NFL game in 9 days?
I think it would be irresponsible for the Dallas Cowboys to put him out there. to be honest with you. I think if you're truly trying to protect the player and do what's in the best interest of the player, you don't play him week 1. We are literally 9 days away. One thing you got to do, and Mike T, you've seen this before, you have to be in football shape. The only way to be in football shape is by doing football things, being in pads, being in practice, building up those calluses within your body. We saw with Darrelle Revis. He came back from the holdout. Okay, he went out there, and what's the first thing that happened? He pulled a hamstring.
Like this, Adam Schefter is going to have breaking news all day long as teams are cutting down to the necessary limits by the middle of this day, and we have a couple this morning.
Well, Greeny, we have an interesting one out of New York. The Giants are waiving quarterback Tommy DeVito, who will be released later today. He'll go on waivers. We'll see if there's a team that claims him tomorrow. But Tommy DeVito is the odd man out, with New York having Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston. Tommy Cutlets is no longer in New Jersey.
He's a folk hero, right? I mean, the whole area fell in love with him. He's been pretty much the only good thing about New York football for the last couple of years. Can he go on the practice squad? Like,
sure.
Is that still an option?
He has to clear the waivers first.
Right.
And then again, like at some point, if they move on from Jameis Winston in terms of a trade in season, now you have Tommy DeVito in your building, knows the program, knows the offense. To me, that's a likely outcome.
All right, so as these go, 4 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon is cut down time. These will be coming in all day long. Schefter will have the very latest. In the meantime, I've got burning questions, and let's begin, Schefter, with you in Cleveland. As was forecast by Tannenbaum yesterday, Kenny Pickett was traded to the Raiders, so that quarterback room in Cleveland now has one less face. What are you hearing about their plans at quarterback and why they were willing to trade away Pickett?
Well, they got offered, obviously, a pick for Kenny Pickett. That was a valuable pick, and Cleveland now has 2 ones, and they have extra picks later in the draft, so they are going to be armed and ready for the 2026 draft. Look, Kenny Pickett was a value. They have Dylan Gabriel, who they like. They have Shedeur Sanders, who they like. They don't have an experienced backup to Joe Flacco right now, but I think this team is willing to ride through that, especially with the way that Dylan Gabriel looked this summer.
So that's the point. While they haven't named it yet, the real question is who's going to be the backup, because that player is one hit away from being on the field on opening day. It's going to be Gabriel.
Yeah, who played very well this preseason, in fairness, Greeny, but as Hembo just reminded me, he's in 3rd percentile in height. It's really hard to have sustained success in the NFL. Drew Brees is the obvious outlier when you are so short. So to me, it's a big risk. You go from 4 quarterbacks, which we've talked about all summer long, to literally for a 40-year-old quarterback to be backed up by a very unproven, very short by NFL standards 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, so we will see Dylan Gabriel, and maybe at some point we will see Shedeur Sanders. That quarterback room remains an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've always said, like, this season should have an eye towards what you're going to be in 2026
right.
at the quarterback position. You're going to keep both of the rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly.